This year's Oscars saw performances that centered women's emotional worlds and complex inner lives, from Jessie Buckley in Hamlet to the unsettling authority of Amy Madigan in Weapons. There were also significant milestones behind the camera. Cinematographer Autumn Durald-Arkapaw won for her work on Sinners, becoming the first woman to win the Oscar for cinematography, a field long dominated by men. Taken together, these moments point to a larger conversation about how women's stories and women shaping those stories are evolving in cinema today. To discuss this further, I'm joined by film critic Asim Chawla. Welcome, Asim.
Hi, thank you.
So, we're going to talk about the women's strong characters in Oscars this year. Um,
Yes.
this year's the Best Actress went to Jessie Buckley for Hamlet. This film is all about the Agnes Hathaway, who was Shakespeare's partner. So, shifting the focus from the celebrated playwright, the focus in this movie is about his partner. So, when you look at such roles, do you see a broader move in cinema towards stories that center women's inner lives?
Well, I would not read into it to think that this is a trend that's going to happen every time. What I find fascinating is here you have a film directed by a woman, Chloe Zhao, who's, I think this is her fourth or fifth film, and she's already won an Oscar for Best Director. She's a Chinese filmmaker. She's actually, it's fascinating how she maintains her Chinese citizenship. Probably she has a green card to live in the US. Is based on a novel written by a woman. I mean, Jessie Buckley's performance is really brilliant. But what makes it very interesting is that actually, and the studios also realize that Focus Features, they, the main character in the film is Agnes, Jessie Buckley's character. So she was pushed and promoted for the Best Actress. Paul Mescal, who was brilliant in the film but didn't get any nomination, played William Shakespeare, but he was promoted as a supporting actor. If he had gotten a nomination, it could have been the best male supporting actor. So
Right.
clearly, it was a very, very woman-centric film. And yes, a substantial part of the film, actually, the woman is there in the center because she's the one who's running the whole emotional gamut of the child's death and everything else. She's the one who handles it because the husband is gone. He does come back in the end. That's a different thing. But this is a very woman-focused uh, book story, and of course, the category is best women actress, female actress. So obviously, this actress. So obviously, only Jessie Buckley could qualify for that. But I think that kind of even though I would not read it as a trend, but I think it's very fascinating how sometimes there are stories that are being narrated which are completely women centric, as this is where it is. The man is a secondary character, and therefore even the actor was being considered for supporting role.
Right. So if we look at the Oscars over the past few years, there has been like a noticeable run of films centered on complex female protagonists, from Poor Things to Anatomy of Fall, and now Hamlet. These are not necessarily idealized heroines. Do you think this reflects a deeper shift in how filmmakers are writing women today?
Oh yeah, but I think that I think it's I mean, I wouldn't say times are changing, but clearly more well defined, more 3D sort of three-dimensional characters of women with their flaws and all the warmth and the goodness also. Uh, that makes it so much more real than just showing a woman. In our Hindi films, you would have these weeping mothers and nothing else, or I think it's great. I mean, Anatomy of Fall is a great example of a situation where we are not very sure, but it is possible that she may have pushed her husband. We are not very sure, but she's also somebody who's had a relationship outside the marriage, and she's very open about it. And she's had a lesbian relationship. Um, Poor Things is completely again. Poor Thing had about three or four supporting actors, but Yargos Lanthimos clearly created a character which was focused on a woman. Emma Stone plays a role. Uh, Again, she goes through a whole gamut of uh, situations where you would not necessarily say, "Oh, this is like this is not a good thing to do, or this is not a bad thing to do." She's not a pure white character. There are various shades of gray and black also there, which is very good. That kind of writing is very good.
Okay, so another striking performance this year was Amy Madigan in Weapons. Her character of a witch made up like a clown is very unsettling, powerful, and far from like the conventional supporting roles women of her age have often been in Hollywood. Uh, are I mean, do you think that the industry is slowly opening up to more layered roles for women beyond a certain age?
Well, you got to think about. I was just checking. Amy Madigan has been acting in her first role. It was in 1981. We're talking about 45 years ago,
Yeah.
um, and very consistent performances. She's gotten one Oscar nomination earlier, like in the 80s, but she's never won an Oscar. Um, and I'm so glad that this role was given to her. A, to the very extremely negative role. In fact, I was listening to some commentators saying that the last time a character with a negative role won an Oscar was, I forget the actress's name, but Rosemary's Baby, which was like in the 70s. Uh,
Yes.
the
Yes.
woman who plays the neighbor, the creepy neighbor,
Yes.
Ruth Gordon, she won the
Huh.
Oscar, I think, for the supporting actress. Um, I was I loved Weapons. It was terrifying and it was hilarious.
Yeah.
And I loved Amy Madigan's character because it was very, very creepy and very, very scary. I mean, the power that she has, and then the way those children rip her apart in the end is the most satisfying moment watching a film. Um, and what I'm glad is that not just that roles are being written for older actresses, but an older actress of Amy Madigan's stature is willing to risk. I mean, she's got nothing to lose. I mean, she's got 45 years of
Yeah.
career.
Yeah.
I don't know if she knew that she would get an Oscar or that kind of a thing, but look what a fine, creepy, it just makes you so uncomfortable, the performance. And it's celebrated as the best supporting actress performance. So I'm very happy for her.
I mean, it's good to watch that these kind of characters are being written for women.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. But also the actress herself
Absolutely.
agreed to do it. I mean, many actresses would have said, "Oh no, my God, who wants to have this bald look with this, all the hair gone, and who wants to be such a creepy, horrible old aunt or something like that, who's got cancer?" And
Mm.
but she did it all, and she performed very, very well, and went with the tone of the film itself. It's a
Yeah.
very it's a fantastic film. I think everybody should watch Weapons. I mean,
I
I love
agree.
Sinners and I love so many other films. Weapons was so much fun. I mean, I laughed so much.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, this
so
year actually, I genuinely love the fact that there were like horror movies making like the top ranking
yeah,
in horror. Yeah.
yeah, because usually the Academy members do not, because
They
they
don't really
consider
choose
horror.
horror that much.
No, and they consider horror movies to be some sort of standard. They're not like at
Right.
par with, like, great dramas kind of a thing,
Right.
like Hamlet. I'm not
Yeah.
putting Hamlet down. I love the Hamlet, but those are the kind of projects that Academy loves.
Hmm.
Uh, I wouldn't have been surprised if Hamlet would have won the best film at some stage, but I knew that in terms of the running, it was just Sinners and One Battle neck to neck.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah, the fact that the Academy is recognizing horror films, and they're entertaining films, and they made a lot of money. Weapons made a lot of money, as did
Yeah.
Sinners. That's a very good sign.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
so one of the historic moments of the night also was that came behind the camera.
Yep.
When Autumn Durald-Arkapaw won the Oscar for cinematography for Sinners. That's, I think, the first woman to win in this category.
Yes. Yes.
Because usually cinematography is typically like a male-dominated.
It's a very male-dominated world. I mean,
Yeah,
the best cinematographers that you hear the names are always
yeah,
men, always men. Even women, well-known women directors go and work with men.
yeah,
Uh, and she's been working for a while in the industry. I mean, she's a Filipino American, so that's the other thing. Not just a
mm,
woman, but she's a woman of color. She's an immigrant.
yes,
I don't know her history, whether she was born in the U.S. or she migrated here, but she's of Philippines origin. Uh,
Hmm.
that and it was so fantastic. I don't know if you watched the ceremony, but she actually, when she went there to accept the award, she asked all the women in the audience to stand up, um, and that sort of took me back to a few years ago when, gosh, what's her name? The woman who's won 3 Oscars, man, she's for Fargo and and for 3 billboards outside Billing,
Oh,
Missouri.
yes, yes, yes. Oh, I I got it. Yeah, yeah.
So
I
when
have
she,
it here.
gosh, her name is completely escaping my mind.
Francis, Francis,
Yeah.
Francis
Anyway,
McDormand.
Frances McDormand. Yeah. So when
Yes.
Frances McDormand got the Oscar for 3 Billings,
Yeah.
she actually, when she went up, she said, "All the women who've been nominated, can you please stand up?" And Meryl Streep had been nominated, and she said, "Meryl,
Yes.
you stand up
Yes.
first,
Yes.
and then
And
everybody
then
else will."
everybody will follow. Yeah.
Yeah, and then she said, okay, these are the women
Hmm.
who've been nominated. Some will win, some most will not win. But do
Yeah.
remember, not today, but in the next week, 2 weeks, remember to hire them, which I thought was
Yeah.
lovely. It was
Yeah.
fantastic, and then so that was somewhat of a similar
Yeah.
situation here.
No, so the fact that she being the first woman cinematographer that she's won in this category, uh, when a woman like shapes the visual language of a film, does it like subtly change the way stories, and especially involving women, are framed and experienced?
I don't know how to answer that. I'm not much of a cinematographer understanding, but this much I would say. I mean, Sinners is beautifully shot, beautifully shot. And in the middle, I saw Sinners the first day. I was in Hyderabad last year, also the first day it opened, and had some sense, but I didn't know what to expect. And then in the middle of when the dance sequence and the music sequence comes, and the camera just
Mm,
sort of
mm,
floats between the characters, and then you suddenly have the history of Black Africans and other immigrants and Chinese Americans and all of that sort of working, and it's probably one of the best musical sequences to be shot. And I haven't watched. I've watched the film twice, but I would love to watch it again to see if there are any cuts or it's a continuous sort of a camera movement with the actors sort of like performing. Uh, that's
there are cuts
great
because the
job.
close-ups have been taken. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great job. That's a great job. Now, can I say that only a woman can do that? I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, Cinematography is a very technical job. I mean, I
No,
do understand.
but does it like the theme of the movie or the way the story is being told? Does that change when a woman is behind the
Well,
camera?
so that's what I'm saying. You see, if a woman is writing the story,
Hmm.
if a woman is directing the story, then I can definitely say that there is a woman's touch. But cinematography being such a technical thing, I mean,
Correct.
Thelma Schumacher has been
Hmm.
editing. She's edited practically all of Martin Scorsese's films, all of them.
Hmm. Hmm.
Won an Oscar for Raging Bull, and I think she's won a few other Oscars also.
Okay.
Uh, Raging Bull is one of the most brutal, violent films, and if you actually see the boards, the storyboards that Martin Scorsese had created, and then Thelma and she worked on that, you're like, wow, a woman is doing that. This brutal, violent thing with blood, and it's all in black and white, and it's
Hmm.
pouring everywhere. Um, but she's a very talented woman, and Thelma, and also she works very closely with Martin Scorsese. They have known each other since they were in college together at NYU, and they seem to have that understanding. And so, is it just because she's a woman or something like that, or is it because they have a connection? And in this particular case, also, Ryan Coogler and the cinematographer that we're talking about. Um, I think it was more of a connection that they made. I mean, I don't know if I can say that a woman could have has shot the film better than a man could have done.
Hmm.
But having said that, as we keep talking about it, it's completely an industry. It's a world that it's kept for men. The fact that a woman can walk in there and do it as well as men do, or even better,
Hmm.
that is great.
All right.
You
So the
know,
conversation about women's representation in cinema is never straightforward. Even as like films offer rich female characters, the industry is like still struggling with the gender balance. Looking at this year's Oscar in that context, do you see that it as a part of a meaningful transition, or are these like moments still exceptions within male-driven industry?
it still stays exception. Chloe Zhao was nominated for an Oscar. Um,
Hmm.
I think again, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but how many women have won Best Directors Oscar? I know Catherine Bigelow won for that film about the Hurt Locker, which was
Hmm.
also the best film. And that may have been the first time that a woman won, and it was actually really interesting that her ex-husband James Cameron was up for the first Avatar, and which was Avatar was this huge,
Hmm.
$1 trillion project, and this was a small project. But
Hmm.
Catherine Bigelow has done some very masculine kind of film that she's directed.
I think
Is it
Nomadland
still
also.
that was Chloe Zhao. She won
Yeah.
for Nomadland. That was Chloe Zhao.
Mm.
So this is Chloe Zhao's, I think, second Oscar nomination.
Mm.
You know, the woman who directed Barbie,
Ah, yes.
yeah. So she was nominated for an Oscar, didn't win. Um,
Mm.
uh, Women get more nominated sometimes in the writing category, costume
Mm.
designs. Some of the best costume designs are done by women. Production design, uh, but music score, for instance, is still something that's kept in the male. It becomes a male territory.
Yeah.
There are very various aspects of filmmaking where very rarely women get recognized. We really need to have. I mean, it's not just a question of people say that Oscars are so white and there are no black. Not too many black characters. So this year we had a black actor win the Oscar. We had a black director, Ryan Coogler, who was nominated for the best director award and best film. He actually won this original screenplay. But beyond just blacks, I mean, there are other minorities and women especially represent that sort of minority where um, doors are opening, more chances are being given to women, but yet it's a very male dominated industry. The very fact that out of the 5 Oscar nominations this year, only
Mm.
one was a woman,
Yeah.
uh, says something to you. And a woman who's already, she's won an Oscar before, so Chloe Zhao is very well known. Um, so it's changing. Um, there are some very strong, very very well known, brilliant women directors. In fact, Catherine Bigelow had a film this past year also, which was really not that great. I think it's available on Netflix. Um, but she's made films which are at par with what anything a man can do, and even better. All of her films have she made Zero Dark 30, a
Yeah.
great big thriller, the hunt for Osama bin Laden. Um, that's I'm sure many in Hollywood would say, oh, can a woman do that? That's a very male oriented sort of a piece of work, but she did it because but she's also a filmmaker who has a reputation in the industry. Talking about Catherine Bigelow, who can do who can make these very strong, very macho masculine films. And I
Mm.
think that probably brings some gentleness in her stories also, being a woman,
Yeah.
which a man may not be able to do.
Right.
So
Well, thank you so much, Asim, for speaking with
thank
the
you.
Federal. It was a lovely conversation.
Thank you. Take care. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye. Bye.